It's not too often in the world of the Mac that you find a new product is actually a good value. Well, that all changed with Apple Silicon and especially with the new 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros. However, things got even crazier just recently because now you can get these 14-inch MacBook Pros for deals that are so good that I honestly don't think you should buy anything else ever for it blows the mind. Let's start. Okay, I'm not gonna beat around the bush at all in this video because we all know the merits of the 14-inch MacBook Pro. We all know about the fantastic keyboard, the return of the ports, this lovely new design, fantastic display with both 120 Hz refresh rate and mini LED. Everything about this thing is just so good. But now they're getting on a year old and a replacement with an M2 Pro is most likely around the corner, and we're starting to see some pretty deep discounts on these things. And I'm kind of blown away by how good of a deal they are. Take a look at this. On Best Buy, you can buy the base model 14-inch for $15.99. $15.99. That is insanely good. That's crazy. To put that in perspective, if you wanted an M2 MacBook Air that also has 16 gigabytes of unified memory and 512 gigabytes of storage, that would cost you $1,700. So you could save $100 by getting the 14-inch MacBook Pro, which has a more powerful CPU, a more powerful GPU, bigger, better battery life in most cases, more ports, a larger screen, mini LED, ProMotion, thinner bezels, a fan. It just goes on and on and on. I mean, look, I like the new MacBook Air. I think it's a fantastic product, and I've been using the base model even with the thermal throttling thing, even with the base model SSD thing. I still think this is a pretty decent laptop, but you cannot compete with that. You cannot compete with the 14-inch MacBook Pro at $1,600. That is a ludicrously good value. And it's not even just the base model. I found my model, which is the 10-core CPU, 16-core GPU, 1 terabyte SSD. That guy's on Amazon for $2,000. Are you freaking kidding me? $2,000 for that? That is a lot of laptop. I mean, okay, I get that Apple Silicon is good at retail price, but when you're knocking $400 off the price, things get really crazy really fast. That's honestly, I think, an untold story of Apple Silicon is that, yeah, when it came out, and we've been looking at these with their new prices, we've all been very, very excited by them. But as is typically the case with technology, it gets cheaper over time. And I don't even think most people have started to really wrap their heads around how good of a deal Apple Silicon represents when you discount it. I mean, $1,600 for the base model 14-inch MacBook Pro. That is $400 less than what was already a really, really good deal. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking, Luke, it's getting discounted because we're nearing the end of this product's life cycle and it's soon going to be replaced by the M2 Pro and the M2 Max. Well, we have to think about this, right? What do we know about those chips? Well, we saw in the M2 that there was an increase in GPU cores that led to about 35% more GPU performance, and we saw that there was an increase in CPU performance by just kind of tweaking the cores and getting an extra 12 to 15%. So you have to ask yourself, Apple's not going to increase the price with that spec bump because it's not a redesign, so would it be worth spending $400 more to get 35% more GPU and 12 to 15% more CPU? Well, that very well may be the case, in which case, power to you. Wait a couple of months and you'll be able to buy that, and of course, I'm going to review them. But if you are willing to sacrifice that potential gain of 12% in the CPU and 35% in the GPU, you can save yourself $400 and get one of these right now and be the happiest camper on the planet. I mean, that is actually actually broken. Now, this was true before these sales, but it's especially true now. If you are buying the base MacBooks, be very careful about how you configure them, because once you get anywhere near the 14-inch, you should just stop what you're doing and buy one. There's really no excuse not to. You can get crazy with this MacBook Air. You can get way above $2,000, but you absolutely shouldn't, because this thing, I think, at $1199 is a good value. But once you start pushing this up to $1599, $1699, just don't even bother. Don't even think about it, right? That is not even a discussion that you need to have in your mind. There's no reason when you compare these things like for like at the same price that you wouldn't just go for the 14-inch. They even have the same storage and RAM. It's literally a no-brainer. Why am I even making a video on this? It's obvious. I basically just made this whole video ranting and I just put a link down below. This could have been a tweet, but it's a video. So there you go. I hope this was helpful. Buy a 14-inch MacBook Pro. It's the best MacBook in the world. That's end of video.